Hey there, welcome back. So yes, we're getting ready to do the siege here. So obviously it's a civilized besieger, so they're going to get a +1. They did take the 2 hits, so they get another +1 for the assault. It is not a nomadic barbarian. It is a kingdom, and there is no decline. The fortification value is -2. So the 2 +1s and the -2 cancel each other out. It is not a harbor. So it's a straight up roll. 7 or better wins. And I rolled a 9. So they didn't even need anything else. They did just submit the Armenians to their will. So this brings up another timing question. I don't know. I'm going to assume that this Armenian unit is still fighting them because all the battles are in parallel. But this is captured, but we're not going to loot the city. So we're not going to pillage it for money or anything. Or should we? In order to get them to submit, this is a diplomacy question. All we care about is them submitting. We don't care about the actual pillage. It's not like they get points for that. Yeah, so let's look at their... Just trying to find the right section here. The capital may be looted. It's considered a capital for this particular kingdom. So, unfortunately, the Persians don't get any bonus for taking a capital. If the kingdom has no capital, kingdom leader and its stack must be entirely eliminated. Draw a pillage marker and resolve any public event. Yeah, I think that's it. So then they basically become a vassal. Sorry about that, it's my dog. They basically become a vassal. They are neutral. And it pays tribute, which of course we know. Because that's what the client kingdom situation is. And okay, so we will pillage it, I guess. So let's draw one real quick. So the Persians, they would get $2 for this. So up to there. And okay, so sorry, my son was asking me a question off camera here. Okay, so 3 more bucks. So 3 more for the Persians. 1, 2, 3. So they're up to $26. And yeah, so this unit will stay in that territory of the Caucasus, and then we still have 2 more battles to go. But oh, and then the tribute marker. This is where it gets a little wonky, right? So the tribute marker, they normally give $2 to the Byzantines. Now they're giving $2 to the Persians, and we have to remember that somehow. So that's okay. Let's go ahead and do this next one. I was very surprised we won, actually. But this one, There is a limit of 3 due to the mountains, so we are honoring that this time and not breaking the rule. And there is an archery phase, and you can see here it's 2 versus 1. And yes, there would be an ambush because this guy has the mountain symbol. So they do ambush. And this is where the timing question comes in. Since we took their capital and they submitted, would this guy really be? And I made the decision that he would be. So he gets to roll first. So we're going to go ahead and roll. And here you can see I rolled a 7. A 1 to a 7 is a 0, but let's see if he gets a bonus. He gets +1 for archer units, so that would be an 8. That helps. And then yes, for ambush, he gets +1 for every other unit. So, so that 7 becomes an 8 because of this, and a 9 because of that. So it's 1 hit that they did. So let's say we did the 1 hit on him. So he's eliminated. But these two get to fire back. They only rolled a 3. That's pathetic. So then it becomes 4 or 5. And basically the archery phase did nothing to hurt them. I do find it funny that it says 6+ here, but you really need an 8. And actually you need a 9. Sort of funny. But okay, so the defenders were able to actually hit back. So since this fort's here, it's going to count as an extra unit that can absorb a hit. I don't think it does anything else, but I'm going to go ahead and roll for the attackers right away. And here you can see I got a really nice roll of a 10. There's only 2 attackers because 1 got eliminated, so it is only going to be 1 hit. But we do have a cavalry advantage, so that 10 becomes an 11. And nothing else matters. So an 11 is a 1.5. And like we said, the terrain, oh, this terrain's not mountains. I apologize. It is not mountains. So what did they roll? Why can't I remember? So what I'm saying is it's not mountains, it's actually swamp. Nope, it's not marsh. What is that? Oh, it's steppe terrain. Ooh, that changes things. So this is only in clear desert or steppe terrain. So I think they at least got an 8, right? Because I think they had a 7 and then they added 1 here for 8. And then 1 more for the ambush, which there wasn't an ambush because this is not mountains. So anyways, back to this. We have a 10 here, which becomes an 11 because they have a cavalry advantage. It is not a nomad in a steppe, but it does become 11. And 11 for 2 units is 1.5, but the steppe terrain turns that into 2 hits. 2 hits is a destroy. Right? They're totally destroyed. So that would be out. But we do get to roll for them. And they rolled a 7. Okay. They get +1 because it's fortified. That becomes 8. And that's it. Now, the Limas Fort didn't really do anything for plus or minus, but what it does is it lets us move from the 1 column to the 2 unit column. So they rolled an 8 with 2 units. That is 1 hit. So so the Persians took a hit as well, and then of course this took a hit. Everybody recovers 2 at the end of the battle. So the Armenians will get this back, and I'm going to just put it right here. They're going to all just be stacked there. The Persians will get their 2 units back, and they will be available for the siege because this recovery is before the siege occurs. So I'm going to put them here. This is the Osrione province. Okay, so let's take care of points first. They eliminated 2 units of the Persians, so that's 2 points for red, and then it's going to be 2 points for yellow. Okay, so now let's do the siege. I rolled a 7. No, I'm not taking 2 hits to get +1 to the assault. So we can use this table here, or we could use a table that's just right there on the board, like right here. And so it is a civilized besieger, so that 7 becomes, that 7 becomes an 8. I didn't do an assault. Nobody's in decline. This does turn it into a 6 because it's a -2, and they just missed it. They failed to siege. Now, we do have a campaign going on, so as part of that campaign, I get to roll at least 2 more times. I can't remember what the campaign number was, but for every campaign the leader has, we get to do extra rolls. So I'm gonna go ahead and let's get that out of the way now, so I don't forget. So the leader has 2 campaigns, so we get to roll 2 more times. We basically need an 8 or better. That's a 3, and that's a 7. So they failed both times, and so what that means is they have to retreat. They weren't able to win the siege, so I'm going to retreat them back to the province they came from, and I'm going to keep the satraps in its own stack. In between those videos, I did grab a coffee. Give me a second. The caffeine is very welcome. Okay, so now we're going to do the big battle, and let's find out if the Persians really have what it takes to take on the Byzantines. I have no idea if they do. And remember, we have stacking limits and all kinds of stuff we need to factor in. And the Byzantines also have stacking limits. So this is the Byzantine situation. Their stacking limits, of course, don't go into effect until they actually move. Okay, so we have a leader. This is a satrap, so he can't move. He has to stay back. Oh, there's an immortal. Oh, there's some really nice units with this guy. Okay, so the terrain allows us to only have 4 units. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's just say that. And then he has a +2, so he gets to add 2 more. So that means I have to leave 1 unit behind. This is a heavy unit, so I'm going to put him in. I'll leave this unit behind. And it's just how it works. I can't necessarily bring more units. Now, that unit that I left behind, I could have used him to attack Osrione, you know, where the siege failed. But the number of units you have doesn't impact the siege at all. Okay, so this would be the situation. He's going to get 2 rerolls. He gets 1. The limes is there, so it'll count as something that can absorb a hit. And we did attack across a river. I think that does matter. Now, there is an archery unit here, so there will be an archery phase. So let's do that real quick. There's no mountains. So I rolled an 11, which is amazing for 1 archery unit. So you don't get to do rerolls for the archery phase. So an 11 is 1 hit. So they did 1 hit to... So I think, yeah, that's going to eliminate a unit. I don't know if we necessarily want that. Ooh, you got to be really careful here. This is 1, 2, 3 elite, right? Diamonds. This is 2, 3, 4, 5 diamonds. So they get the elite bonus regardless. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the elite unit so I still have more units in the battle. All right, so that archery phase hurt. Okay, so now we go to the attack phase, and Sapor is going to spend one of his rerolls to get a +2 bonus to his attack roll, and Caesar is going to spend his to cancel it. Okay, that's just sort of how that's going to work out. as far as cavalry bonus is concerned, neither side has an advantage. There's 2 cavalry here and there's 1 here, but you need to have at least 2 more than your opponent, or the only time you can have 1 more than your opponent is if your opponent has none. And then with the heavy here, you can see there's 3 heavies, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 heavies. So the Persians actually win the heavy bonus. So that means it's going to be a -1 to the die roll for the Romans. And then as for the elite bonus, that gives you plus die rolls. The Byzantines are going to get so the Romans get extra for their elite units, but I don't think the Byzantines do. I'm going to have to check that real quick. So if the Romans have 4 diamonds, they get a +2 to their die roll. I think but see, the Byzantines and the Romans are sometimes used interchangeably. This is the part where the game gets a little ambiguous and blah, blah, blah. So let me check real quick. The player aid does try to address this. +2 for Rome or Byzantium if you have 4 or more elites. So they will get a +2. Okay, so let's roll for the Persians. I think we got most of the stuff figured out. And I rolled poorly. It's a 4. Okay. He's going to use his last reroll to roll again. Oh my gosh, now it's a 3. That is an awful roll. Okay, so we rolled a 3. Let's see what bonuses we get. We are attacking Amida. It is not over a river. There's no barbarians involved. There are at least 2 elites, so we get a +1, so that 3 becomes a 4. And we have no advantages. There's no empire versus barbarian. There is a fortified city, but that doesn't, so it becomes a 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units is all the way over here. If I roll a 4, it's a 1.5, which does translate to 2 hits. We could have done some massive hits if we would have gotten down here. That was a real big opportunity lost. But we did get to do 2 hits to the Romans. And this is actually a tough choice for the Romans. But I think what they're going to do is they're going to go ahead and lose the infantry. And then they're going to take the legion and reduce that one. But before that happens, they get to roll. And they rolled crap. They rolled a 5. So it's going back the other way. And remember, they don't have the heavy bonus. So they lose 1. So it becomes a 4, but they gain 1 because they have a fortified city. So those cancel each other out. They do get +2 because they had 4 or more elites. So that 5 becomes a 7. And that's it. I don't think there's any other advantage they get. So there was 4 of their units. They rolled a 7. They do 2 hits back. So this is where we got to be careful again. So like we could do 2 hits here. That would lose 2 units. We could lose our elites, which takes away a +1 modifier. This is actually a tough choice. If I did that, see, that's not even a heavy unit anymore. All right, well, they're going to go ahead and lose 2 units. So they could retreat or they can keep going. I think we're going to keep going. Are we? We've already lost our 2 units. We will recover them. They're going to recover their unit. And you know what? They didn't even have to take this hit. They could just take that hit. So they're going to be at full strength still, the Romans. Actually, they did take a hit with their elite. So they would probably just do that. We get to do 2 more campaigns, so we can try to attack again. And this next attack won't have a limitus. Yeah, so they're going to retreat. And by retreating, they get to recover these 2 units. And then a civilized empire gets to flip one of those straight up. They recover 1 as well. And let me just make sure. I know civilized, if it's empires, only the empire gets to restore their elite unit recovery. Each civilized nation involved restores 1 elite unit. Okay, so that includes the Persians. So this would get restored. So by retreating, I was able to save my army. That's really what I did. So, okay, in doing that, red scored 2 points, yellow scored 2 as well. So I'm gonna grab 2 5s, take back 3, put in a 5, take back 3. Yeah, the poker chips is the way to go for scoring these guys. Okay, so this guy gets 2 campaigns. We're going to try again. That's why I didn't even bother putting the pieces back. The Limitus is gone, so they do have 1 less unit over here. Because the Limitus was there, they actually had 1 extra unit. So we said they had a 7, and I just wanted you to see that it was no difference if we had 4 units versus the 3 that I looked at, because that Limitus was not eliminated yet. And in fact, even if you would have went to 5 units at 7, it's still 2 hits, no matter how you look at it, because that 1.5 was being rounded up. So we're okay. Nothing changed there. I am looking at the... so like the Byzantines had the ability to cancel a siege. That they could have tried to do with the Armenians. I didn't even think about that. And then you can bribe an intercepting stack into non-acting, but it costs money. But so far the Byzantines are holding up just fine. So let's go. This guy is going to use his +2, one of his rerolls for a +2. He's going to cancel it again. So they cancel each other out. In fact, I wish the game rules were just that they cancel each other out. If you get 1 reroll and he gets 2, then he only gets 1 and he gets none. That's how I think it should be, but it is as written. So they cancel each other out, and I guess, yeah, it's a free country. You get to decide if you want to cancel or not. So I'm going to go ahead and roll. These guys have the heavy advantage. These guys don't. No cavalry advantage. And it is a crappy roll again of 5. So he's going to use his reroll 1 more time because he really needs this first attack to do well. And he does better finally of a 7. So he at least got average. For the first time, he finally got an average roll. Okay, so that's 7. If we remember correctly, he gets to add 1 because of the elite, so it becomes 8. And then that's it. So none of these other things matter or make an effect. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He has 6 units, which is really nice, and he got an 8. So if you go down to here, that's 3 hits because we round up on the half. So 3 hits is very deadly to the Romans. 1, 2, and then I think he would rather be eliminated. So 3. So let's go ahead and roll. This is for the Romans. They got a 6. They do get to add 2 because of the elite, so it becomes an 8. They have to subtract 1 because of heavy, but they add 1 because of the fortified. So it's an 8 total with 4 units. 4, 8 is 2 hits back. And that is what we're going to do is we're going to eliminate. See, that would get rid of a +1 bonus to his attack. No, it wouldn't. So we're going to eliminate this one. Oh, that's just 1 hit. And then eliminate. So we're going to go ahead and accept the elimination, but we're going to keep the heavies as they are, which causes him to get a -1. So now we go to round 2. This guy can retreat if he wants to. I don't know if he should, but we're going to go ahead and do round 2. The rerolls are already used up, so there's nothing we can do. We start with the Persians, and I rolled an 8. I get to add 1 for the elite to make it 9, and that's it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units with a 9 is 3 more hits. So that would be 1, 2, and then 3. So they've just lost 3 units, which is not good. And then these guys roll, oh my gosh, they rolled a perfect 12. And there's no rerolls. So that 12 goes into effect. It actually becomes a 14 because of the elites. But basically, there were 2 units. A perfect 12 is 2 hits on the Persians. So the Persians are going to lose 2 units as well. So 3 units were lost each. So that's 3 more points for each side. Boy, I can't say enough good things about that. Okay, so both sides get to restore 2 units, and then they get to flip 1 unit over. Okay, so this side is going to do the same, and then they get to flip 1 unit over. All right, so the Byzantines actually got hurt pretty bad in that, and they are forced to retreat with these half-damaged units. This unit can be recruited later, but it does have to go into the free pool. And so from Amida, they can retreat backwards across the river, or they can go into Osrione to try to protect that city there. They're going to retreat across the river into the Limes, which will help them. Okay, so the Persians are here, and they now have to try to take this city. And if you'll take a look, that city does not have any fortifications. Well, actually it does. That's what this is. It just got moved. So it has 2 fortifications to it. I think the barbarian terrorize thing only works if it's a non-fortified city. Let me check. There is a terrorize rule. I just don't know where in the player aid it's listed. I know it's somewhere here. So there's a loser retreat, sieges. Okay, I can't find it in the player aid, so I'm just going to go into the rule book. I know it's there. There's a terrorize rule for sieges. Barbarian terror. When a barbarian leader moves, a wake of terror precedes him. A non-fortified city would surrender without a fight. So otherwise, a non-fortified city still has to get sieged. But this is a fortified city, so none of that happens. So I'm going to go ahead and roll. And I rolled a 5. And there is 2 re-rolls here, but let's see what our pluses and minuses are. It is a civilized besieger, so he's going to get +1, but then there's going to be a -2. Yeah, so he needs an 8 or better. So he gets 2 re-rolls. And this is a 5 again, and that is a 9. So the Persians are on a tear right now. And so they just took Amida, and they're going to come in with their troops. And take Amida. Now, are they going to loot it? The answer is no, because they want the territory for themselves. So they're not going to loot it. I still have 1 more campaign to do with this particular unit. And so what I'm going to do is, remember, a campaign is you can pick up troops from anywhere and take them with you. So the stacking limit is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then he has a +2 because of who he is. So he's going to take a troop, one of these archer horses from over there, and then he's going to take this guy and just drop him there. So now what's he going to do? Are we going to attack across the river, which is what the Byzantines sort of want us to do, because then we get a penalty? Or should we just try to take Osrione, which by itself is another fortified city? There's just so many fortified cities, but by taking Osrione, we at least got another fortified city under the belt. And I think in his case, we're going to try to attack the Byzantines because we injured them pretty bad. So yes, we're going across a river, and that is going to cause a -1 to our die rolls in melee combat, but that's what we're going to do. And I think that by adding that horse archer, we also got a cavalry advantage, which cancels the river disadvantage. So we're going to come straight across and go after this guy. So Caesar is being put on the ropes here. So he has 3 units, only one of them's elite. He will still get at least a +1, he just won't get a +2. And yes, we have an archer, and we have 2 cavalry, 3 in fact, and some heavies. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 heavies, so we win the heavy competition. And then we have enough elites to at least get an elite bonus, and we have more cavalry than them. So the Persians are outmanning them in every way. And 1 second, I'm having some lighting issues. Let me see if I can fix that. All right, I have no idea if that'll help, but okay, so we do an archery phase. So we're going to go ahead and roll for the Persians, and they rolled an 11, which is an amazing roll. I don't even think the rest matters, but they get a +1 for that. The defender does not even have a heavy advantage. There was no ambush, but at a roll of 11 + 1 is 12. They do 2 hits. And remember, these hits are before melee, so this is going to go down, and then they lose a +1 if they take this hit. So they're going to go ahead and just lose a unit, which does move them backwards on the column. I don't know which is better. Having 3 versus 2 was probably better. So they'll go ahead and take this hit here. The Byzantines are in trouble. All right, so he's going to do his reroll for a +2. He's going to cancel it. Rolled a 10. That's a really good roll. And for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units, 6 units with a 10 is already 4 hits. Everything is eliminated. And now we have to check to see if the leader's eliminated. And but they do get to roll. They rolled a perfect 12. So for 3 units, a perfect 12 is 3 hits back. So that wasn't necessarily perfect either. So we're going to do a 1, and then 2, and then 3. All right, so the red player gets 2 points. The Persians are getting 4. Because we're counting the Lemus that got defeated. So they're going to get 2 of their guys back. They're going to take these, and then they're going to make sure this one flips over. And this is bad. They just lost one of their really nice Legion units. These 2 both come back, and then they're going to flip this over. They are at full strength. And then we have to siege, which is the next thing. But first of all, these guys have to retreat, and they're going to retreat to Phoenicia. And to make matters worse, we now have to check to see if they lose their Caesar. So I'm going to go ahead and roll for that. I rolled a 6. I don't even know what the check is for the possible loss, but I'm going to look it up real quick. If the stack is completely eliminated, they do a D2 check. If it passes, he survives. So if I would have rolled an odd number, he would have been eliminated. If the Emperor was in decline, he would have been assassinated as an 8 or more, which is an extra check on top of this. That's crazy, crazy. That's even if they win. That's what the Romans were dealing with. Okay, so the Caesar doesn't die. Now let's do the siege. I'm pretty sure I just need an 8 or better. So let's roll 3 times. There's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. So they failed all 3 times. And so the Persians do have to go backwards. And so, oh, I'm sorry. There's no fortified anything here. This is Col Syria. There's no city there. So the Persians just hold on to that territory, and they're going to just put their stack of units right there. Okay, so that concludes Persia. I think they did okay. It's sort of hard to tell. So now it's the Byzantines' turn. They're the last ones to go. This is a very interesting game. The Byzantines don't really have a lot of troops on the board, if you think about it. And when it came to hiring time, these 2 units just got eliminated. There was nothing for them to hire either. So I guess it's because they're a young empire, so they didn't have very many. There's some crazy rule that if I can somehow take the capital over here with the Byzantines on turn 1, how on earth? I mean, I guess you can sort of march across the desert here and go, 1, 2. I mean, it's really hard to get there in 3. But you could try. He does get a campaign, so you can march across. Oh, actually, he could do it. He could go 1, 2, 3, right, as his move, and then campaign into here, into Chaldea, to try to take that city. And then they would have to do some intercept check to see if they can protect the city. And since the Persians are way over here, he's basically doing a reach around on them. I mean, you could do it. Now, is it worth it? Let's find out. Okay. The empire stays united on turns 1 and 2. The 2 nations activate together. Oh, so the Byzantines wouldn't have activated separately. They would have activated the same time the Romans did. I'm not sure how much that would have changed things, but I guess they could have gone before the Persians. There's rules for when they collapse. During conscription, there's rules. From turn 2 onwards, they can hire barbarians. The Guard and Palatine count as 2 elites. So it's repeating some rules we already know. Armenia and Armenia Minor form the inactive Armenian Kingdom. They lend one of their 3 units, which must stay in the east. Byzantium may attempt to regain Armenia's clientele with the alliance card. Otherwise, it needs to conquer the capital. Armenia is pro-Byzantium. A nation other than Byzantium, such as Persia, has to pass 2 D2 checks to succeed. It has a pinkish side for when it's a client of Byzantium and a yellowish side for when it's a client of Persia. So apparently the tribute token sort of tells you which one. A friendly Constantinopus allows crossing the Bosphorus during normal movement, but not during interception. A stack in Constantinopolis or in a province west of Constantinopolis that attempts to intercept in Asia or anywhere else suffers an additional -2 penalty to its roll. Constantinopolis can be reinforced to become level 4 for 15 bucks. That was worth noting. On turn 1, at the beginning of the Roman military phase activation, Emperor Lullianus, which is the Roman emperor who died, he died fighting the Alemannis, right? He can be redeployed, and if Rome captures Ctesiphon on turn 1, it can force a special peace on Persia. So that guy's gone. But yes, that would have been the leader that the Byzantines could have used. So we did things a little out of order. That was an asterisk on this. So what can the Byzantines do in the meantime? Well, I think my answer is not much. I think maybe we can try to retake the Armenians, but we would end up fighting a lot of units to do so. And I don't necessarily want the Byzantines to lose more territory or more units, because then it'll cost them money to get all of them refurbished. So what I do want to do, though, is these units that are way back here, I guess we could have tried to intercept with them, but I'm going to move, for example, this unit 1, 2, 3, and this unit at least 1 to get them in where the fortified cities are. We could try to take, go across the sea to take the Bosphorus area. Sevastopol is really what I'm thinking. Technically, you're not supposed to go into Sarmatia, so I don't know how that rule works. Because that was a Byzantine territory, but yet no one can go into Sarmatia. So is this really going to be it? We sort of got our butts kicked. What do the Byzantines get for points? What are they trying to do? So barbarians and Persians eliminated. -2 for each Byzantine city that's been pillaged. I guess technically they didn't get pillaged because the Persians wanted to keep it. That could have hurt them. So Armenia, Myre, Syria, Atropatene, Euphrates, and an Olivorian at turn 3. So I think what they want to do is let's take back Armenia. So to do so, he would need to move 1, 2, 3 to here. And this unit wouldn't have been able to make it, but this unit would have been able to join him. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to attack the Armenians to get them back. All right, so he's got this situation, and this guy joined the crew. The Armenians have 3, and they're just going to retreat to their capital instead of doing the battle. And so then this guy gets 1 campaign, and so he's going to then pick up this unit, right? So you can go in with 3 units plus 2. So this is 1 more, and then we're going to grab another unit. Excuse me, I can grab the one from Egypt, but I think I'm going to grab from Constantinople instead. No, that would be a dangerous move, wouldn't it? I'm going to grab the guy from Egypt, and we're going to attack like that. So 3 for the mountains, and then +2 because of his ability. And yes, we're trying to take the capital, which has already been pillaged, but we're just trying to take it back and get the Armenians back on our side. So the Persians are going to try to intercept the big Persian stack. So let's do that. I rolled a 6. I think that should do it. For interception, they get to add the leader value. They only need a 6. The leader value is a 2, so that's an 8. They are trying to move 3 spaces, so they get a minus, well, it depends on which chart you look at. This one says -1 for every non-adjacent province crossed, which would be 2 of them, so it'd be -2. Let's look at the... See, it says -1 if the land distance is 3 paces. -2 for every ridge or strait that's crossed. So they get a -1, and they do cross a ridge, so that's a -2 for them, for crossing a ridge. So that's -3. Their leader gave a +2, so they're currently at -1. They're not an empire, so they don't get the +2. A capital is under attack, but it's not the capital for the Persians. So they actually fail. They got a 5. They rolled a 6. They have an overall of -1, so they fail. So that's interesting that they failed. I think we could probably get at least one of these other units to join, like this one here. In fact, there's a stack of 2 of them. So let's roll for them. I rolled a 6 for them. They do have to go across a ridge, so they get a -2. So that's a 4, and they also fail. Very interesting. Okay, so yes, this is going to be the battle. Are there any archers? Yes, there is. So archers are going to be firing for the Armenians, and it is a mountain surprise, but that shouldn't matter. They rolled an 11. They do get a -2 because they don't have the heavy advantage, so it becomes a 9. But they do get to add 1 tube for their 2 archers, so it becomes an 11 again. And it's an ambush, so it becomes a 12. So they just did 2 hits. That actually hurts these guys a lot. They had a +2 bonus if all of them would have gone into the battle. So 2 hits to the Romans. Yeah, so there's no cavalry bonus. They both have a cavalry. They do have the heavy, well, so I would need this to keep the heavy bonus. So that means I'm eliminating this really awesome unit. Nope. All right, so they lost their bonus. He gets 1 reroll. So we're gonna roll for the attacker first. And we rolled a 6, okay? They get +1 for the elite, and that's it. So it becomes a 7, and that is completely it. There's no other bonuses. There's no going across a ridge for them. They went through land. Yeah, so it becomes a 7. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units. And if we scroll down to the 7 at the 5 units, that's 2 hits. 2 hits on these guys. So that would be 1, 2. All right. So these guys are going to roll. That's a 5. And they have a fortified city, becomes 6, and that's it. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4 units. We go to the 6, and it's a 1.5, but it gets rounded down to a 1. So 1 unit is eliminated for the Romans. So now we go to round 2. Romans are going to roll, and they rolled a 6, which gets added +1 because of the elites would go to 7. And they have the heavy advantage this time. So 7 for 1, 2, 3, 4 units is 1.5, which is rounded down to a 1. So what they're going to do is he's going to use his reroll. Well, actually, what he should have done was used his +2. Dang it. So I know it's retconning, I apologize, but I'm going to do that. That 7 would become a 9, which then is 2 hits, like it's supposed to be. The +2 is way more powerful than a reroll. Well, most of the time. So 2 hits is enough to eliminate them. And we're gonna roll. They rolled a 9, which doesn't get re-rolled, and that's a 2, which is gonna be 1 hit on the Romans. And the Romans will go ahead and do that. So we did win the battle. 2 units do get to come back, and then they get to flip 1 over. For these guys, 2 units come back, and they get to flip 1 over. This one obviously has to flip over. And the Persians get to flip 1 over, because technically it's 2 different kingdoms involved in that battle. But the Persians have to retreat, so they will. And the Alemanni do lose this unit, but they're going to get it back. And it belongs to Byzantium again. So we're going to just take their 2 units, put them in like so, and then the Caesar and all these units are going to stack up here in Armenia, which is really far away from the Persians at the moment, but that was important to get their tribute back. Okay, so a couple of things. The first one, 2 Roman units did get eliminated, and so that does mean 2 points for Team Pokemon Yellow. For the Byzantiums, they took out 3. Now, they technically don't have the Armenians yet. They now have to siege. So we're going to roll, and I rolled a 9, which is perfect. We nailed it. So they did take the city back, and yes, the Armenians are now back on the Byzantium side. Whew. I actually forgot about the siege part, and that was a really good roll. I'm going to say that's it for the Byzantiums. They did lose some territory, but for the most part, red is still strong, or looking strong. And that brings us to the end of the first turn. So I'm going to go ahead and end, and then we'll get ready to start the next turn on the next video. Thanks for watching. Stay awesome, stay healthy and safe. Please remember that for the next turn, Rome and the Byzantiums are supposed to activate together. That's supposed to happen, and then in turn 3, that's when they stop doing that. So that was the biggest mistake we made. On the overall scheme, that was pretty minor. So there is a giant stack of units that are becoming available for the Romans and the Byzantiums in turn 2. Okay, we'll see you soon.